Whilst in the first two videos we've seen how Calisto Tanzi created Parmalat from a small family-run business into a multinational, and how suddenly Parmalat collapsed. In this final video, we'll give you some explanation how the fraud worked that led to the demise of Parmalat. Before proceeding further, we recommend watching the first and second videos in case you've missed it. We'll link the first video in the description. December the 19th, 2003. Bank of America announced to the world that the financial documents of Parmalat Financing Corp have been forged, and the liquidity of the Parmalat Group may not exist. Within 10 days, not only shares and bonds of Parmalat plummeted in value, but also most of its management resigned, and Tanzi was arrested. What has happened behind the scenes?
The main issue relates to the assets of the Parmalat Group, which seem to have brutally disappeared in a labyrinth of subsidiaries and shell companies registered in several jurisdictions. According to the investigators, there were more than 260 entities in total composing the Parmalat galaxy. Although certain companies were legit entities, other companies have been used to hide questionable financial operations, such as intra-group transactions in order to play accounting gimmicks, like adopting back-to-back schemes. In other words, those financial mechanisms had the purpose of showing non-existent assets in the accounts of the Parmalat Group, and then having them disappear far from the supervision of the relevant controlling authorities, such as central banks or security exchange commissions. This type of financing is similar to the concept of escrow financing. Without boring you with complex explanations, let me explain this mechanism with an example. I go to a bank and I ask for a loan of $10,000. I ask the same bank to deposit this $10,000 in my personal bank account, and I print the bank statement which shows that I have $10,000 in my bank account. Then I come to you and I ask you if you can lend me $3,000 for a year, and I'll give you back $3,500 after 12 months. You make $500 in 12 months without working and with no risk, because I have $10,000 as a guarantee for you in my bank account. So, worst case scenario, I can withdraw $3,500 from my bank account and repay your loan. Correct? Not really. We both know that the guarantee doesn't really exist, since it is also just a loan which needs to be repaid as well. Now, multiply this mechanism for a certain number of times and you get the biggest financial fraud ever committed in Europe. I know what you're thinking right now. No, don't go and do it. However, this was the main mechanism implemented using Parmalat. Parmalat was already an insolvent company since the first half of the 1990s. Directors and auditors were forced to create a series of false documents, forgery and scams to keep the company alive.
Like drug addicts, they became more and more dependent on this cheating mechanism, to the point of creating empty vehicles all over the world. For example, Parmalat forged a purchase order from Empresa Cubana, a Cuban import business, for $620 million of powdered milk. In other words, every Cuban was supposed to drink approximately 250 litres or 66 gallons of Parmalat milk a year.
What has shocked the most in the Parmalat case was the gross negligence or the active participation of external figures. In 2002, when Parmalat was already a bunch of forged documents with a few drops of milk on it, more than 20 rating agencies were advising to buy Parmalat shares and bonds. To see them changing their minds and downgrading Parmalat's rating, we need to wait until the evening of December the 19th, 2003, when Bank of America showed the fake bank document, and the scam came to light. A bit too late, don't you think? We know as a matter of fact that Calisto Tanzi and his right arm Fausto Tona were serial fraudsters, and they have defrauded at least 38,000 small investors. However, after his arrest, he has always presented a thesis. Nobody at Parmalat could have been able to implement such a fraud without the support of banks. Banks made huge profits allocating to private investors, Parmalat's financial instruments, knowing that some of them may not be fully regular. Although most bankers involved in the Parmalat case have been found not guilty by the several courts in Italy, Brazil and the United States, several doubts remain on their responsibilities and roles. The same concept can be applied to the external auditors which were working for well-known multinationals. The Supreme Court of Italy, declaring their judgment on Tanzi, mentioned that the biggest failure was not Parmalat itself, but the controlling system worldwide.
Calisto Tanzi is currently in the jail hospital of Parma due to his health. He's serving 8 years and 1 month for market manipulation related crimes, 17 years and 5 months for bankruptcy fraud, as well as 9 years and 2 months for the bankruptcy fraud of Parmator, another entity connected to the Parmalat Group. But the question remains. Despite the fact they have been the most active figures in the Parmalat fraud, is it possible that Tanzi managed to put in place the biggest fraud in Europe alone? We hope you enjoyed this one. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and do feel free to like and comment below. We'll see you soon.